Hello everybody, my name is Tanner Kyler, and today I'm in a very unique ecosystem here on Baja California Sur, the peninsula off the west coast of Mexico. Today I am bringing you a very unique and cool species of cactus, Stenocereus thurberi, or the Organ Pipe Cactus. These guys have just recently, about 30,000 years ago, actually started moving into southern Arizona. You can go see them in the United States at Organ Pipe National Monument. But they don't get quite this big. So here in the dry forest, due to competition of sunlight, as you can see there's a lot of trees around here. Here are some drone shots from above that really show how vegetated this area is. So here in the dry forest, there are plenty of trees to help shade and compete with these cactus, which is causing them to get much taller than they would in other parts of the world, especially in more barren deserts. They're forced to grow up in height rather than as wide as they do. These guys get about 20 to 30 feet tall. They love well-draining soils, unless you're in an area like this, which they get very little precipitation. So they can grow in better thicker soils here, but if you're going to be growing them in pots, you definitely want to grow them in a very well-draining soil mix. They are desert specialists, so they do not need much water. These dry forests here receive a lot of precipitation once, maybe twice a year, and then for the rest of the year, it can get bone dry. So 9 months to a couple years could even go by without a drop of water for these guys. So the Stenocereus grows quite large, as you can see. They grow dozens, if not hundreds, of arms, so they're very different from the saguaros or the cardons, the false saguaros. They grow much more based off the ground and much wider than the other ones. So they have a whitish flower that blooms at night. They are bat pollinated, moth pollinated as well, and if they open up during the day every once in a while, then pollinators like butterflies and bees would also pollinate them. But they primarily open up at night, and the reason why they do that is to prevent moisture loss, because it is very dry here, very arid, very sunny. Right now it's about 95 degrees and it's March, so I don't think I'd want to be here in the middle of August whenever the heat rolls in. So these guys' flowers are rather large, about yay big, probably about 2 inches in diameter. Very beautiful, and then they produce a red fruit. Now these guys, that breeze feels amazing. These guys get their name organ pipe, as they do look like the pipes of the musical instrument, the organ. These are very slow growing plants, so they grow very slow throughout their life. So these one here are probably pushing 100 years old, so they live about 150 possibly more years. It is hard to date or age cactus because they do not get growth rings like trees do, so whenever we cut one down, you can't just count the rings to see their age. So as they do get older, they get these very woody trunks, and I'm going to squat down here and point. I don't know if you can see it. If you can maybe zoom in a tiny bit, Talon, you can see that woody cuticle layer. So at the base, they actually will start losing spines towards the base as their cuticle layer gets thick enough to protect themselves. But they do have spines all the way up the cactus. So the spines are rather small, but they are clustered and very hard to get. So on these ribs, they have about 19 to 20 ribs around each of these. And the ribs expand and contract as they get bigger and smaller as they swell full of water in the wet season and then dry up. So the ribs are very similar looking to the saguaro ribs, if you've ever seen those. As the water fills up, they can actually double in size and weight. So they have a very large fibrous root system that probably goes out 20, 30 feet all the way around them to catch any precipitation that falls around the plant, soaks up, and then these swollen stems here are like batteries. So cactus are very similar to batteries in the way that they store up all of their energy, all their water, all their nutrients into the stems and the swollen trunks of them, and then over the course of a year or so, if they don't get rain, they slowly deplete that. And if they don't get rain readily enough, they will pass away. So they do not like cold. That's why they only grow in the very southern point of Arizona. Because they don't like cold, they don't like to be hit with any kind of frost. And so if you look up, you'll see their spines are a little thicker at the top to help protect them from frost and cold. But it doesn't get very cold here in Baja. And so these guys probably don't see anything below 40 degrees Fahrenheit or close to 0 degrees Celsius. They definitely do not like the cold, so if you have them and you're growing them in a colder state, like let's say you live in Oregon and you're growing them, you definitely want to bring them in for the winter months. Also, if you're living in a wet state, you want to make sure they're not getting too much precipitation. But I think that's about it for this cactus. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please put those in the comments below. And I love seeing what you guys have to say and hearing the positive critiques. I try to come back and edit, or I try to go and answer all of the comments from you guys on each video. But with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.